The highest court in the land now rejecting a challenge to a California law that allows illegal immigrants to pay in-state tuition for college. As you may know, state college costs less for people who actually live in that state, and now illegal students can get that same perk. For example, at the University of California, in-state students pay just over $11,000 a year. Meanwhile, out-of-state students pay $34,000 a year. California Congressman Brian Bilbray is the chairman of the House Immigration Reform Caucus, and he joins us now. Hello, Congressman. What do you make of this Supreme Court decision that basically what their rationale was in siding with these non-citizen students was that the law is based on graduating from a California high school, not on citizenship?
It really, it's rated on spending 3 years getting a free education in California and graduating, and even if it means those 3 years you were breaking the law while you were doing it. The fact is that what this does is create this situation to where, again, we're sending a signal around the world that California is going to reward you if you illegally come here or if you smuggle your children into the state. And look, we've got to remember that when this law originally passed, it was so brazenly a scheme to try to circumvent the federal law that the universities refused to implement it unless the legislature passed a separate law to hold them harmless. Every attorney in every university said, look, this thing is terrible, but they worked it around, they worked the system, and it's a good example of the fact that there are special lobbyists, there are special lawyers for people who are illegally in the country. But the average American citizen, like my children, when they return to Washington to come back and get their education in California, American citizens born and raised in California were told, sorry, you don't get in-state tuition unless you're willing to show your tax return to document it. But if somebody's illegal, only has to show a utility bill. Actually, a whole system of separation and discrimination, but discrimination against those who are perceived to be legally in the country as opposed to those who are admittedly illegal.
The illustration of your children is particularly ironic because they could have saved that $23,000, the differential between in-state and out-of-state, except that they go to high school in Virginia to be closer to you when you're in session in Congress, so they can't take advantage of it even though they're from San Diego. It seems as though this law is flawed in a few ways.
It's flawed because what happens is the legislatures are being manipulated by activist groups and lawyers that are manipulating for one small group, but the average American citizen, even my children, get blocked out. And Allison, this got to a point that when my daughter was ready to transfer from one school over into the public school, California is so loaded up with students and running out of money that they weren't allowing U.S., even state students to transfer into a system that they admitted had illegals not only going to that school, but getting in-state tuition. So when you look around and say, come on, how much difference does it make? You tell a little girl, your young daughter, that, sorry, you're not going to be able to go to that public school because there's not room in there, because California believes those who are illegally here need to be in line first. And remember, Allison, what are we training them for? To go to work illegally in this country? There's the kind of just mixed messages that no wonder people come here illegally. You've got people putting out the welcome sign and saying, not only will we allow you in, we'll put you first in line in front of American citizens.
Well, look, you've obviously made a very compelling case for what is wrong with the law. So why did the Supreme Court then endorse it yesterday?
Because of what we've got is they played this game of saying, we're finding something besides residency as a way to be able to allow you to come in. And they say if you've gone 3 years into a public school, even if you're breaking the law during those 3 years, we'll allow you to have in-state tuition. They worked around that aspect. That's one of the reasons why when Washington passes a law from now on, we can't try to explain that, look, we don't want people being rewarded for illegal residency. We just got to tell them flat out. If somebody is not legally in the country, you cannot give them a public benefit. You cannot use public funds to subsidize or to benefit those who are violating our immigration laws in this country. And states should not be subsidizing and rewarding people for breaking the federal law. That's the separation of powers. Arizona is not the state that is violating separation of powers. It's California.
Well, Congressman Brian Bilbray, you obviously have a vested interest in this law, and of course so many other states do as well. They're following California's lead, and other states will take up this question also. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you very much, Alex.
He makes a compelling case, huh? 21 minutes.